Okay, so it's been a while, but not usually as long as it takes. That's a good thing. First things first, those who are here online with me, how's the audio? I've been messing with it a little bit on my end as I've recorded a few times and tested it out. It seemed fine, but I just want to make sure that every one of you who's tuning in and watching this has a good audio that we can start with. So I'll be waiting for your replies on that, and we can definitely start this great stream. See what happens. Go with the Q&A, the live streams, and the quick scans and everything else. So yeah, happy. Hello. Okay. So we have Mo here, the Andromeda. Oh wow, Chris, DCE, Barefoot, Guardian. That's great. Okay, you're saying the audio is good. Whew, good to know. That was good to know. So before I get into looking at the content, and I guess I should start with that. I should. So yeah, just I want to start with the positive note. You might have seen my few videos where I was talking about NPCs in our lives and some of those triggers. And specifically, I've been talking about those weird adventures where I would take out my dog for a walk and I would have some weird people just like nobody around. Not a single person except these few girls just walk up to me, not say a single thing, and just stare at me. That was like kind of creepy, you know. Like I've had a few encounters of those that I shared in the video, and since then, as I've been talking about manifestation and everything else, for me, like everything I focus on, all the thoughts, feelings, and everything else is gonna create my reality, and that experience I've had with those NPCs from my perspective, you know, I could have focused on that and just be mad about how the world is or how creepy those people are, but I've did in the past few times without really noticing, and I noticed that like I attracted more of that. So this time I had those experiences and I was like just focus on what I want, and the more walks I took, I was like, people love my dog. People love my dog. People love Tanjiro, and you know, they're happy to see him and everything else. And the most wonderful thing happened, you know, like me and Tanji, my dog, we go for a walk, and there's this lady that we met like 3-4 times. She has this German Shepherd, and sometimes my dogs play with hers, but we don't really chat or anything. And you know, a few days ago, we were walking, and we meet that lady again. She didn't have her dog. She the dog was like at her house or something, and she saw Tangy, and she's like, "Hey, hi, Tangy." Like she's all friendly, and so my puppy goes like sniffs her hand and just stands up and starts giving her boops that I've taught him to do and all. So that was like really cute, and she really loved it. She really loved the dog, and she's like, "Oh, he's so nice," and like one after another experiences where people compliment my dog, where people stop and admire him and everything else, and I'm like, you know, if I would have focused on, oh man, this is pisses me off, you know, like every time, just like I try to take a walk and there's some random weirdos walking right at me and there's a trigger, you know, if I would just spend time focusing on that, I would definitely attract more of that. But I have to like learn to, hey, acknowledge that it happened, but don't dwell on it. Just move on and focus on my future, that I want to be my past. And I focused on people loving my dog, and definitely it happened a lot. So, you know, I've been living with that. Everything that's going on in my life, I'm just focusing on things I want to happen as if it was my past. And more I see wins all over the place. And I'm counting smallest things. Like, for example, I have a Japanese Akita, so his stomach is a bit more sensitive. And so if he eats anything weird, you know, he can have runs or he's gonna not feel too good. And, you know, a few days ago, like, he had runs, so I had to wake up at 3 a.m. in the night and just, okay, let's go, like, outside, let's make sure you're good, you're doing good and all this stuff. And I started focusing, like, hey, solid number 2, you know, he does a solid one, and it's all good, and he's feeling great, and he's eating kibble and everything else, and boom, last few days, I'm really happy. My dog's eating kibble, his number 2 is what I call the, you know, that stuff. It's solid and everything else is healthy. So like I'm like, hey, little wins, every single bit counts. But that's where I'm gathering up like every possible win I can get. I will count it, even if it's, let's say, I'm walking and like, hey, look, I focused on solid number 2 and someone left it over there. Great, it's still a win. So yeah, like it's pretty amazing. this whole manifestation and attracting what you want, it's really amazing how it works. But it's simple, but just not easy. You know, you have to focus on it. You have to practice it every day. Deal with your case and make sure that every possible negative experience, negative thinking, you counter with the positive. And again, as if it is the present or even happened as your past. And you know, it's a lot of work, but it does count in like every single bit. Like I take my wins where I can. You know, like doesn't matter how big or small they are. It's a big thing. So for today, I wasn't really getting prepped like what I'm going to talk about, but I had a few ideas of maybe seeing if some of you would be interested in this live consciousness shifting, where I would ask you how you would rate your visuals, and I would give you some commands and things to do with your consciousness, and like a lot of you can get out of body right here, right now, while being fully awake by just shifting your consciousness. And if you have visuals, all of you can do it, you know? So I was just wondering if I should try it, how it would go. It was just like a test drive, an experiment to see how many of you would do it. Because, like, I noticed, like, in some of my videos where I was talking about manifestation and people being pulled out of body, and a few times I described things with visuals, a lot of people in the comments described it like, hey, I actually got out. I've had the experience, like what you've described, I've had in depth with more, you know, adventures out there. And like, that was like pretty good. So for me, like, it just stays like a lot of my viewers has an ability to shift consciousness and be in all those places if you have visuals. And from then on, you know, it would be focusing on different things, like meeting some like amazing, interesting, like, I don't know, like intelligent ET. Maybe meeting someone you love that you have lost. Maybe meeting yourself that is smarter. You know, like a lot of different variations for what we can do. But yeah, like we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely like gonna do a quick scan and just take my time. So like for me, it's always a practice. Like I used to have this big fear of public speaking in school. Now it's like it's better because I'm at home and no one's really like I'm not seeing all of your eyes and everything else. So it's a bit easier, but even then I'm still dealing with my own little case. But I think I'm doing much better than I did in the last live stream at the beginning. So that's a little upgrade I've had. Yeah, but we'll see. I'm just dealing with myself a little bit here and there. So yeah, I was saying that he recently, or she found my channel and loves the content. That's good to hear. I really appreciate that someone up to now, like, you know, like, hey, new person, and they can find something good in here. DCE says, misses me, and please reply on Messenger. DCE. Oh, that picture, that is, man, I haven't checked Messenger in a while. After the stream, I'll give a lot of looks. There's a lot of people writing to me, so I've been pretty much like, you know, like, yeah, fuck, take a break, you know, like staying away from certain things. But yeah, I'll be sure to get back to you. Barefoot says, hi family, guardian, greetings Akvilla. Hey Yak, sounds good and all this stuff. That's great. Like, it's so nice seeing so many of you joining here. Julia is saying, Labas. Whoa, how many Lithuanians do we have here? I know at least 2, I think. There's also like I know some English speaking people also talk to me in Lithuanian sometimes. It's pretty neat. All right. Shalisan's saying that she grew up chanting. That's a good thing. Chanting. It's a practice. It's a good practice. I used to do it, and chanting and those mantras and everything else. I know it's like for me it was very calming. Like even, you know, just taking one of those Om or Home and just trying to hold as long as possible. It's just like really good. Feels like freeing, liberating. And I noticed that like for those that are singing, you know, if you combine your breathing with that one, you can hold one note for a very, very long time, like over a minute. So that's pretty cool. Charlie says, I think video games are dangerous. Yeah, why do you think that? Like, yeah, like, you're not wrong saying that, totally. For me, it goes 50-50. personally, it really depends on what kind of games you choose to play. Because everything around us is a game. Video games, and a PC is another thing. And for me, I grew up. My first game that I ever played on PC, it was like very interesting. It was called Blood. I was like 5 years old, and there's this game like 2D, and you just go and like very very much like Doom, but you're just killing some skeletons and some people shouting at you and some gargoyles and everything else, and it was like pretty creepy and dark for a 5 year old. But I knew that from that was my beginning. Like most people don't encounter such dark crap at that young age. So when they get out of body and they see that, it's kind of like, oh, it's kind of scary. For me, I grew up with that stuff. Like some scary movies that was on TV in the background, or some video games that like parents weren't monitoring me too much. That was like, it got me to a very good level of confront. Because right now, getting out of body and meeting a lot of entities that can be weird looking, a lot of ETs and aliens and all this stuff, they're not that nice, not like humanoid, nothing like that. And they're like really creepy, man. But for me, like, confront is like, what? That's natural, that's what I grew up with somewhat. But yeah, it goes in a lot of ways. I know, like, I had this view of protecting cartoons and specifically anime when I watched the video of Penny Gandhi, where he was saying if you watch cartoons, you're gonna go to hell. And then he had bunch of videos where he talked about, if you play video games, you're gonna go to hell. If you pierce, or like, it wasn't specifically Penny Gandhi after that, but a lot of his followers got hardcore into if you do anything that they don't like, you're gonna go to hell. Like there's this insecure women who are like, well, if you dye your hair, you're gonna go to hell. If you have piercings, like let's say you pierce your ears and now you're wearing jewelry, you're gonna go to hell. And that kind of like really pissed me off, because it was just like a lot of groups without a bigger understanding and their own insecurities pushing into, oh, well, I feel insecure and my new rule is you're gonna go to hell is blah, 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 blah. So for me, it was like, man, there's a lot of this push of fear and chaos and controlling people through fear. And I want to do exactly the opposite, where, fuck the fear and you can do everything, you're God. So that was my point of view. I don't know, like, I could get a lot into video games, but for me, it's like 50-50. I know, like, it's time consuming. It's a great escapism. But always war. Well, that's the thing. It really depends on what you choose to play, because there's plenty of games where there is no war. Like, I've been playing this morning a game called Satisfactory, and it's very beautiful. I might get a few pictures. Very detailed, like gorgeous. And the idea of the game is just like mine materials and build an awesome factory. And it's like looks very bright, very beautiful, and you can do everything. And let's see if I can just get some screenshots into this. Capture window. Where's my stuff? Where's my stuff? There we go. Can we get us here? There we go. I'm gonna close my fucking camera. So yeah, there's this game called Satisfactory, and you can do like a lot. Like, you're literally gathering materials and building mines and refining oil and everything else, and you're creating your own whatever the hell you want. People would think of Minecraft and all this stuff, but it's very gorgeous, and there is no killing. Like, you literally don't fight and you don't shoot, and it's pretty fun. Like, me and my brother, we were kind of like laughing at people like saying, oh, well, video games cause violence, and then there's me and my brother playing Stardew Valley or some farming simulator, and we're like, oh, damn, like, like you play a video game, you make one bad decision to piss off someone, and you restart the whole game with that chapter and stuff like that. But I get your point of view. Video games, movies, TV shows, killing everywhere. But that's humanity for you. Find a good game, a good movie, a good TV show without that. It takes a while. Because people like drama, people like chaos, people like a lot of those touchy fear triggers and all this stuff where, let's say you watch a Marvel movie. specifically Avengers. And let's kill off everyone's favorite hero, like Iron Man, a good guy that was saving Earth and like trying to protect people and all this stuff. And boom, like let's kill that guy, and like one after another they end off good people, and you fall in love with your hero, you like them, you like relate to them, you're like, yeah, he's the person that's gonna save the world, and like, yeah. And like lately it's been a lot of let's kill off the good guys. Like even like Rich and I, we did a thing like, okay, once in a while we're gonna watch a movie or whatever, and specifically Marvel because it has a lot of good self-disclosure with what's going on in the world and multiverse. And just yesterday we watched the Eternals, and it just starts off with let's kill a lot of good guys. You start relating to someone, let's kill them off. And it's like, man, that's kind of like pissing you off because that theme is everywhere, you know, like, so yeah. But it's programming. It's programming that good guys and heroes lose, and let's say villains are the ones that actually have the right agenda and the right understanding, and they should win once in a while and all this stuff. There's a lot of programming in the background for sure. We played The Last of Us 2, and The Last of Us 1 was pretty good. The Last of Us 2, we didn't went too much with it because it starts with, oh, you like this character? Well, let's kill them off while someone they love watches them die and suffer slowly. And it's just gory as fuck and a lot of emotions. It's just like, oh, well, great start. But yeah, a lot of that. A lot of programming in the background of good people dying and suffering. And you might not pay attention, but it gets in your mind that, you know, hey, good people lose, good people suffer, and all the stuff, you know. So they definitely can make positive growth experiences, but why bother? Like, good luck finding one. Like, even the whole, let's say, Don't Look Up. Great satire, exposing today's world, specifically with what's happening with pandemic, and how crazy it is, and how, like, government handles that shit. It's like, it's a laugh, you know, but anyway. I was lucky to watch some of the movies, because, like, for me, movies are toxic. Like, when I watch a movie, it creates a sub-reality. So I can be here, and I can get out of body, and I can experience a lot. But watching a movie will get me into the movie reality, so I live at a few places at once. I live here, and I live in the movie world. And not just, like, from a point of view of, hey, look, I'm just watching people do stuff from the beginning until the end of the movie. No, I'm in the movie world. I can literally live there, I can have a character, I can experience everything that's going on, and if I'm watching, for example, Don't Look Up and the planet is being destroyed, I'm gonna be on a planet that's being destroyed and I'm gonna die over there, you know, so like I have this whole experience and this sub-reality, you know, you might not pay attention, but it happens to a lot of us too. So you watch a movie, you're done, you're like, okay, next, and you're just gonna carry on with whatever you do, you're gonna go to bed, for example. But there's a part of you, your aspect, that is stuck in that sub-reality, that is living in that world still. And your energy gets drained. You watch those traumatizing experiences. Like, if you watch scary movies, you're gonna be in that scary world, and that part of you will experience those scary monsters from that movie. If you're watching some dramas, you're gonna be involved in some drama yourself. And later on, because in that sub-reality, part of you experiences something negative, you're going to attract something similar here on Earth. So, for example, if you watch romantic movies and everything else, and there's a lot of like, hey, these people fall in love, but something bad needs to happen, and they're going to get together eventually. And so, watching this a few times, there's a part of you that lives it and experiences it, and it becomes a rule. You're going to fall in love with someone, there's going to be good times, but something terrible is going to happen. You're about to split up and it's over, and then somehow magically you get together and hey, happy ever after. And that, you know, at the same time, part of you experiences that, and that becomes like your case, your own personal rule. So as you live here, you're literally gonna meet someone you like, or you already have a partner, someone you like, you know, like let's say a girlfriend and a boyfriend, and your relationship goes good, but then you're gonna attract more triggers, because in a movie, and the way you were programmed, it just cannot be good all the time. There's some drama needs to happen, something like, you know, like, oh man, it's too good to be true. A lot of people have that belief. And you need something bad to happen. You need your reality shaken up. You need some drama, some chaos and everything else, to the point where like, okay, now I experienced that, off the list, I can go back to normal. And a lot of people live on this like roller coaster up and down because that's their case. That's how we're programmed. So, you know, deprogramming ourselves is a big thing because we're doing this inner work, shadow work, whatever you want to call it. But anything in our background, you listen to music, and if it has words, it's gonna play in the background. Your brain's gonna catch it, and just listen to what a lot of common like modern new day songs are about. You know, sex and drugs and bad relationships and fucking themselves over and shootings and killings and everything else. And it's like, okay, listen to that. That's kind of fun. And then you listen to words, and most of the Christmas songs are really negative. They're like about divorce and being unhappy, and everyone's feeling kind of weird, but it's Christmas and yay. And you're like, yeah, it's Christmas song that when I actually look at the lyrics is fucked up. What am I listening to? And it's like programming in the background. So, okay, we have music, we have movies, we have TV shows, we have video games, and eventually everyone is scrolling on Facebook and Instagram, Reddit, and other places, and you're just scroll, 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 scroll. Well, hey, did you know that your brain can actually catch all that information? Like, literally, a lot of people have photographic memory, and you might not realize it, but you can just get one look as you're scrolling, and your brain will catch that thing. And a lot of things that going on in the headlines and everything else, that negativity, is gonna cling for a while. And that part, you're not looking at it, but why are you feeling kind of weird? You were doing good for a few days, but all of a sudden that way that you're just scrolling on the net and all this stuff starts taking its part. And damn, I am actually feeling really weird. Like, not like myself. Like today I'm feeling blah, I don't want to do anything. I'm kind of draining all this stuff. So there's a lot of things taking its part. And best thing, hey, fuck everything. Just go into the jungle and stay away from it all. Or like stay away from the internet. And that would be great. But nowadays society, like you have to get a job and everything else and survive and, take care of your own family, you have your apartment or the house or whatever, the mortgage. And there's a lot of things, and eventually people need entertainment. So, for me, like, I'm not a big movie watcher. I play more video games than I watch movies or TV shows. And for me, I got used to the harsh stuff in video games. Like, I grew up with it. So all the zombie killing and shooting and wars, when I'm out of body, I see that way more. It happens so much more in out-of-body experiences than here on Earth, and even in all the, entertainment we have here. Like sports and everything else. Doesn't matter where you look, but it's all there. And it's very important to, after you do all this stuff, like for me, even doing these sessions where I look at people's stuff, it's not just like, hey, that was fun. Like, like I found a lot about a person, bye-bye. It doesn't work like that. Like, I relate to people too much, and I become like a sponge. So when I do the session and I see the person got raped, I'm gonna play the part from a different perspective where I am the person and I am the client. So in order to look at their past lives, I am them and I am them in their past. So now I'm being raped and I experience that physically and I feel it in every possible way. And then there's being a point of view and watching what happens. And I have both experiences at the same time just because I am me. And when I get out of the session, doesn't matter how long it is, it depends on what subjects I'm looking into. Sometimes it's like easy and fun. Sometimes I'm like, bye, that was great. Oh my god. Or I'm barely handling myself and it's so overwhelming and I have to take my time to do the cleanup. I have to, like for me, water is healing, but that's for me, and then, I take showers and I wash myself and I do the energy work and okay, disconnect, remove all the stuff, be me, okay, finally go back to the world, and it takes a while. It really depends with what kind of people I work with, but, we talk about, hey, video games are bad, everything around us is bad, so, we literally have to just, look at life through our own little glass and how we're gonna interpret everything else. But yeah, there's a lot into it. John is asking, do I still watch anime or did I quit? I watch anime, not as much as I would like to. The thing with me, I'm translating anime from English to Lithuanian, so I watch everything that I am working on, and that's as much as I allow myself to get into it, and it's not much. I wish I could do more, but it's been overwhelming journey with my group, and I'm just okay, the anime I'm watching currently has been called The Ranking of Kings. I really like it because I'm just gonna throw a few photos out there for people just for fun. and in English it's going to be called Osama Ranking. Why not? Just for more scenery and whatever. Okay, so we have Osama Ranking. I've been watching this anime. It's about a kid who is deaf, so he cannot hear and he cannot talk, but he's the son of a giant with the strength of a giant and everything else, and it's like a very nice fantasy world. It reminds me a bit of those Soviet animation I used to watch when I was a kid. It's beautiful, great story. I don't know, like there's a lot of it that I like, and it's kind of like finally like something that's I don't know, enigmatic, magical. I would say. So for me, this is a chill one. Of course, I'm working on translating it and everything else. So that's the one. There's also 86 anime. There we go. 86 anime wallpaper. Not wallpaper. Fuck you. Anime. So there's this, guys. Oh, 86. Man, that's also a lot of what's going on with our world with people being different. There's a lot of discrimination. Yeah, anyway. People are being discriminated, if I'm saying it right, and they're just like, okay, you don't look like us, so fuck you, and they throw you out, and the world says that these are not even the humans anymore, they're just a bunch of machines, and they're just working for us and everything else. A lot of war with AI, AI taking over people, and the souls like a soul trap being stuck into the machine and not being able to get out of Earth, and a lot of little things like that. But not too much. So these are just a few I'm seeing. Demon Slayer, yeah, I've watched Demon Slayer, but just another shonen. Whatever, man. But yeah, like it's okay with the animation. So yeah. Anyway, let's continue on. Rather Rage is saying, are you a fan of the Scream movies? I recommend seeing the new one. So I've seen a few, or the one that was out there, and I think there was also, like, as regards the Scream, a parody. I don't know, Scary Movie 1, 2, 3, 4 or something like that. So there was that, but like I don't know, I watched it and was just like, whatever. Didn't see the new one. It's like I can watch it, but it's not really like amazing. Like for me, let's see, Matrix, fucking awesome. Didn't see the new one. I don't know if it's worth watching or not. Doctor Strange has some good parts about astral projection, getting out of body, time, and the multiverse and everything else. That's pretty good. But I haven't seen that much of, I don't know, like something of value. And for me, that's a big key. So anyway. So there's that. I guess I was like slowly reading comments and everything else. Doctor Who as well. I haven't seen Doctor Who. there's a lot I need to catch up. Like when Rich and I talk, he's been watching movies for more than 30 years, so it's like he's gonna spoil everything because he's seen it all and he's kind of like predicting what's gonna happen. And I'm like, don't spoil it, come on, let me watch. And the other thing, it's like I have to like work really hard at finding something I'm gonna like. Because when I was a kid, I got too much of scary movies. It seemed weirdly, I don't know, like that weird wanting to watch scary movies. But that's pretty bad because, like, scary movies in its own, you're inviting those beings into your world. You're opening up portals in your fucking space. A lot of entities from that crappy, programming is gonna come into your space. And there's, like, a lot of crap in those that you're, like, watching it for, like, let's see if I'm gonna get that jump scare. And, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Because you're gonna get a lot of crap from that, and you might not notice. It's the same people as joking, hey, I kind of like want to have sex tonight, but I don't really have anyone around me, so I wonder if I could summon succubus or incubus. And they just like listen to some weird audio, and next thing you know, they can't get rid of this fucking thing, and now they're creeping out, and they're just like hard to handle, and like, what the fuck am I doing with this? And even then, like, people are like, Aquila, how do I handle succubus? Like, I don't know how they got in my space. And I'm like, well, tell me your story. And then you find out that, 90% of time it's people themselves doing something to summon it in their space. then having a hard time taking responsibility or at least admitting it, like, hey, yeah, my fault, I did it, And even then, if I look at my YouTube statistics, and there's like a lot of tags, like let's say 50 tags that your channel is found by, like 20 out of 50 for me is summoning succubus, succubus, incubus, succubus sex, and I'm like, great, I made 2 free videos about that, and now there's like a bunch of people finding me because of that content. Weird. But a lot of people are into that. Like, if they can't have anyone in their life, they're like, hey, let's have sex with this weird entity because it's gonna be fun. Why not? Just a little fun at night, and then I'm out. Yay! And then they're fucked. Then they have this weirdo sticking to them, and males being raped by other, incubus, and then females having an experience and everything else. There's a lot of crap out there, a lot. And so coming back to the scary movies, they're summoning that stuff as well. So like and I had to learn the hard way, like, hey, stay away from all that hard stuff, because movies, games, everything else is like literally creating a portal in your space. So whatever you're watching, be sure to watch your space as well, because you might get some friends or not. So I'm slowly taking my time, just reading comments, what people are asking and saying, and just catching up with y'all. So Chris Torres is saying, what effect would meditation in total darkness visually, mentally? What effect would it have? So for me, I used to meditate in almost complete darkness, but I used to have, like, let's say, I was practicing back then and finding my way, and I got into Hinduism a little bit. So you used to have to, like, by their beliefs and everything else, you have this murti, it's like a little, I don't know, like a temple, a little shrine, and then you choose the god that you want to pray to and everything else. And I'm like, okay, well, this is gonna work. And I had like incense and the, like candles and everything else, the photos, the 108 beat thing that they use, and like you just go with whatever. And so for me, like, I was meditating with that, but then I'm like, I started exploring. Like, it wasn't like, okay, this is how you do meditation, this is the only way. I was like, no thanks. And then I started like exploring. So for me, I went into just focusing on beings I loved and trying to enhance its emotion. And for me, the fire was really working just for enhancing it all. But, whether you use the light or not, I think being in the full darkness would just help you with visuals by stimulating things. But that's if you are not talking to yourself. Because if you are talking in your mind and you have chatter and you have thoughts, then your attention perception goes into listening to what you're saying in your mind, and you go into listen and talk, listen and talk, listen and talk. But if you can learn the quiet mind, or just focus on the emotion while being in the full darkness, that's where you can open up more of the visuals. So, again, this is how it worked for me, and it doesn't mean that every one of you is going to have the same experience. Bullshit. Like, hey, you try it out, full darkness. Try it for a week or two, see how it affects you. Do you have better visuals? Do you have like more perception, better feeling state? And try, like, let's say with a little candle in the room, or let's say in darkness, daytime, being in the sun, being in the nature. Try out different things and see what works best for you, and just explore, literally explore. Yeah. MV is asking, how do you stop your inner monologue? That's a big one. First of all, there's 2 ways to go about it. One is demonize the inner monologue and try to be quiet as can be. And for me, I feel like I'm not in the best place to talk about it because I'm sort of natural. Like, the way I get out of body without trying that much, it's like people, like, I feel like, how do you get out of body? Well, I'm like this. And, like, I already have this ability. And it's like, I have to work really hard. And watching a movie is part of me working at, okay, destroy this ability to get out of body, destroy the visuals with, okay, having like, let's say, movies and video games and blue screen light and everything else, and just gonna fuck up my visuals and ability to get out, and I'm gonna build myself up being in your place, trying to get to where I was. And that's where I'm working at. Same with the quiet mind. Perception. You really have to work at perception. Let's say being somewhere where you can just look at things. Just look at something that's going to attract your attention. And, if you can get 5 seconds, that's a win. But it's not like it's going to be easy peasy, like, okay, just don't think. Like, no, it's not like that. Literally, the best practice for me was finding something to focus on. Like, I really love looking at things, and I really love, like, let's say, the smells, the tastes, and for me, being in nature is really freeing. So going for a walk and just walking around, looking at things and admiring it all. And for me, it's this like very big, like it's quiet, it's peaceful. My attention is outwards. But if you cannot control your thoughts and you find it too hard, and whatever you're working, you're looking at the, let's say, like Shelley says, mindfulness, or you're looking at Eckhart Tolle or other people, and like a lot of variations of what you can practice and do, but you still find that it's not working for you. No matter what you do, you still have this chatter. Don't think of yourself as a failure. Don't think like, oh, I'm not good enough, I will never get there. Fuck that. You don't have to practice that because they say quiet mind is good. Instead, be in control of what you think. Because if you want to get anything in your life and you're not really thinking about it, but then you think negative, then you're going to manifest the negative. But if you actually focus on, okay, yeah, I was just thinking bad, that's okay, acknowledge that, but don't dwell on it, don't blame yourself, and literally direct your focus where you want. Like literally, I'm happy, I'm doing great, I'm wealthy, my body's great, and just talk good about yourself. Talk good about your life, like, man, money's coming as easy as I breathe. Like, damn, I love my life. And you can be using the verbal irony. You can use, like, hey, just like, like a little sarcasm and everything else. But try to make all your talking inside positive. And when you have more control over what you think, and, you use that for something better. So it's like literally, like, yeah, you like your inner monologue? That's really good. Because if you can't control it, and no matter what you do with, like you try quiet mind, you listen to Eckhart Tolle and everything else, you practice mindfulness, and nothing works, don't overwork yourself. Don't say, fuck, like, just, okay, next method, try something else. Because you don't have to fit into the category of this. Try something else and see if you just like that better. Literally explore, find different techniques, and, for me, I would say just like practice what you think about every little bit. So there. So I'm slowly again, visualize spinning as Rich would say. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Slowly scrolling to the chat, seeing if there are some questions and everything else, and we'll also think about if we want to do the guided visualization, guided consciousness shifting, or the quick scans. Again, for those that just joined in, I was pondering the idea of asking how many of you have visuals, and then giving you some commands to just look around, look into things, and visualize that, get your consciousness in that place, and then meet some beings or your relatives or yourself, get some information out of there and come back and just a little experience. So we'll see if we do that. There's one person saying, check out Shinsenkai Yori. That's an anime. I think I've heard about it, but I've never really went into it. So let's see, Shinsenkai Yori. Um, from the New World, is that what it's called? Let's see. Yeah, from New World, Shinsenkai Yori. Okay, it's on the list. Eki and Yuri. Yeah, I see why you like that. Yeah, kidding. It's all good. Alright, something to add to the list. Madeline is asking, is this a healing video? I really doubt that. Like, I wish my content would be that good, but I think I just share my opinion, and I'm really glad that someone's listening to it. But yeah, I don't know if I would give myself that much credit. Zachary saying the new Matrix movie is like the old one with new effects. At least that's how it seemed to him. That's okay. Better effects. That's good. Horror Mysteries 103 is saying, what's a good way to manifest more subscribers? So, for me, it was a journey. Like, I know when I started my YouTube channel, you know, from pretty much 0 up to more than 3,000, that was amazing. Specifically, when, you know, like I was going through my first year and my goal was to get at least 1,000 subscribers. That was pretty awesome. And I'm really glad, like, you know, like, hey, that's a lot of people I can reach out to. That's a lot of people I can talk to and see if my messages affect one of them. That would be awesome. So, making videos, and often, like, literally right now I'm trying to make a video a day, or let's say, you know, live streams, videos, premieres, you know, just as much content as, like, I can get out there. That would be great. I wish I would have more quality, but right now I'm going with quantity just because of YouTube statistics. The other thing, people say thumbnail, you know, like catching the attention of people, that would be one thing. But for me, it would be like Gary Vee's advice, engaging with the audience. Because how can you dream about your 1,000 if you can't reply to that 5 you have? And for me, like when I was into like, hey, I would like to grow my channel, I would like to have more people, and I focused on that, my priority was reply to everyone. Reply to every person that's talking to me, and that was my big thing. You know, everyone that is writing to me is a friend, and literally I knew a lot of people. I knew so many people who were talking to me, like on a personal level. We would chat on, let's say, not just on YouTube, but then it would go on Facebook and on Discord and other places, on emails, and then I would find out about their personal stories. So whenever I would make a video or I would stream and I would see their name, it's like, I know this person. I know them, like, on a personal level. I know a lot about them. And that meant a lot to me because I wasn't just, you know, hey, look, that's a viewer. No, it's a friend. It's a person I know. And, you know, for me, going into 3,000 was like a lot of videos out there, not paying attention to how I look or like what's behind me. Like, I would love to decorate my room and make it look fantastic, but my priority is getting the content out there. Like, so, you know, I'm not even giving a damn about perfectionism anymore. Like, I would like to have a better content and a better quality. Take my time in like Sony Vegas and just cut things up and make a lot of details and add photos and videos parts in there. But if I'm gonna take 20 hours for a 5-minute video, some people can do that. I can't. Like, I definitely could, but for me, just getting it out there instead of trying to make it perfect and then eventually I'm like, I don't like it and I'm not gonna upload it anytime. So just document your life. Just everything you're experiencing, your thoughts of the day, whatever you're going through, and just do it. Just do it daily, and you're definitely gonna get a lot of subscribers. You know, like, people will watch your journey, people will see you win, or when you reach something in life and you have everything documented, they'll want to click like, hey, well, you have like a lot of subscribers and people now, but where did you start? And they go and they see your journey. That's gonna get a lot of video views and a lot of people coming to check you out. So yeah, for me, it's just like just documenting myself. Not even a good camera. Like, even right now, my camera is pretty bad, but I'm like, hey, just make the content, just say what I think, and just go with that. But yeah, Just consistency. Just drop perfectionism. Just share what you think, and that would be my take with it. Okay, so there's some people saying that the new Matrix movie is actually absolutely horrible, like total trash. Um, Animatrix is awesome though. Okay. uh, Riley saying love the Matrix, but still can't get over to watch the new one. Yeah, I hear ya. Like I still haven't given it a try as well. The other person saying that the new Matrix movie is actually pretty good. Yeah, like I haven't seen it, so I can't talk about it. Apparently, like just like hey, my opinion doesn't matter because I didn't experience it, so I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. But you have your own personal opinion, and how you interpret things is all up to you. Because a lot of people hate the movie called Don't Look Up, but a lot of people that hate the movie are into the global warming or into taking the jab and supporting the current narrative. And those that actually like the movie are those who understand everything that's going on and is like, hey, it's a really good movie explaining how our reality in today's world works right now. So, like really depends how you look at things, how you interpret certain things. So, just go with yourself. That's good. So again, I'm taking my time scrolling down and just looking at what people are saying. Jennifer is asking, when am I going to do a quick scan? I'm thinking I'll give myself 10, 20 more minutes to just catch up with the comments on what you're all saying, and then we can switch into. So, speaking of quick scans, because I will be going into that soon, anyone that's watching, feel free to write me an email. Write me about things you want me to look up to, like a little bit about yourself. If you want a live quick scan, be aware that I will talk about things right here, right now, so, your photos, your emails won't be visible, but what you write, some of the details, I will read it out loud. So if you're like, let's say you're having a thing with, I've been raped when I was 6 years old, or, like, hey, I have a hard time fixing my car, or my back hurts, I will read those things out loud. And your story, what I will share about you, like, will be out there. Your name, I don't have to say it and everything else. But again, anyone who wants a quick scan right now, feel free to write me an email. Just tell me a bit of your story, some of the issues you're going through, what you want me to look into. And then, when I open one of the emails, what I find is what I find, and I'll share it over here. So that being said, I'm going back into reading some comments, answering them, and then we can definitely switch and do some psychic work. Kin is asking, how do you avoid negative entities while visualizing? So for me, it's all about how I feel right now, and specifically looking in the thoughts I have, the feelings, the emotions. Let's say if you're gonna do the session and you're gonna, not the session, let's say visualization, meditation, you're like, okay, I'm gonna work on something, and how do you avoid negative entities and beings in your space? So one thing I start with when I go there is I say, anyone that's in my space that doesn't want to be here, you have my permission to leave. There are a lot of entities in our space that are made to mess with us, but they don't really want to be here. So if you can be like Harry Potter who gives Dobby a sock and you're free now because you have a sock, that's the best metaphor I can probably pick up right now. You literally give them freedom. You give them permission to leave. You can also like start visualizing a little place, like it's gonna be your pocket realm, a little realm, a place where it's protected from duality. It is not seen by any, let's say, reptilians and greys and any weird beings that you don't want to be in that space. But it's specifically created for the entities that want to heal and get better. So you're literally creating like visualizing, let's say, a nice forest and beach and a little, houses over there, and you design it any way you want. And, once you have everything designed, you're saying, hey, any being and any entity in my space, if you want to be free, if you want to be from your higher ups, if you want to be free from me and just get out there, have some fun, be safe, be by yourself or with your friends or with your loved ones, there is this realm that I just created and you have my permission to go there. You're going to be safe. No one's going to find you there. And this is where you can thrive and do your own thing. And a lot of them will leave. You're going to feel the relief. You're going to feel like calmness because those beings don't want to be around your space anyway. They're made to. And so when you give them a place to go to where they're going to be safe, unseen by the dark side, then they can just go in there and have their time and you're free from them. So that'd be one thing to do. Another thing, again, as you're in a room, for example, or wherever you are, just like when I'm meditating or visualizing and I am in my bedroom, for example, or, in one of my rooms, then in each corner of my room, I will create a guardian. And it can look like, let's say, a superhero. It can be an Iron Man. It can be a little teddy bear. It can be a dog. But you're creating whoever's going to guide you, this presence, this beingness. And you tell them, like, hey, you guys that I just created, please protect me from entities. Don't allow anyone in my space as to do my, inner work, shadow work, visualization, meditation, whatever you're doing. And these guys have a job to protect you, and you have your time to work on your own thing. And then, the other things you can focus on is looking at your own case. When you're visualizing, there might be this fear of seeing an entity, seeing something scary. And when you have this fear, you're kind of expecting it to happen. You're focusing on the negative. So all of a sudden, I would just go with, okay, what might be some of the reasons for being afraid for seeing an entity when you're visualizing things? And you would just go into your thinking, your logic, like, oh, well, it happened before, or I've had nightmares, or I watched some scary movies and, I just really don't want to see those beings, and you just would go into your own logic, your own thinking, but you would become aware of what creates your reality. And when you have that, you're going to have much easier time confronting or just shifting focus. And then again, these entities and beings can't take a higher vibration. So before you go into visualizing and meditation and everything else that you're going to work on, you have to work on yourself, raising your vibration. So literally focus on yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to go into, hey, I'm feeling great. I'm doing good. And, whether you make yourself feel good by drinking some coffee, by, eating an orange or whatever makes you feel good, you have to get into that really nice place. And of course, depending on what you eat and what you consume is going to be a big part of it. But just by your own thoughts, your own energy, how you feel about yourself, if you feel strong, if you're aware that your visualization, what you imagine, what you perceive, and you are a godlike being, you can change everything. If you have fears, you're taking your powers away. So you have to realize that everything you think of, and even if you see a scary entity, you can turn it into a little cat, into a watermelon, into anything you want. And if you know that you have this ability, then they are afraid to show up in your space. But if you are like, I'm afraid to be messed with, then they know that you are living in fear and they can trigger you. So you literally have to work on your own vibration, on your own thinking, on your own feeling state daily. And, it's a lot of work. It's simple, but it's not easy. And, one of the best things I could do is, let's say, if you're visualizing something, just before you go into there, just think of, let's say, this space you're in, your own room, for example. You're creating this, your own personal bubble, sprayed with love. Imagine having a can and you're starting to spray things, and there's a lot of love coming out, a lot of feel good, the healing energy, a lot of protection, and you're just spraying your room with it. You're just playing around, and it's like, okay, now I'm feeling better. But you just created the safe space that entities, they're on a lower vibration, so they can't enter it. And now you have your own little protected bubble, and that's where you can do your work. So that would be something to try out, and hopefully some of these techniques will help. So yeah. That being said, I'm still going into some of the comments, and another little comment for people. If any of you, I've seen Riley Rage and Andromeda say they have already sent me an email, please be sure to forward it back, because I get a lot of emails on, on my Yahoo. So, whatever you wrote is already down quite a bit. So I need to make sure I have everything in one pile that I'm just going to click on and open up and start working on. So, yeah. It's that. MV saying, LOL, I'm trying to think nothing, and my monologue's going, think nothing, think nothing, think nothing. It's like, that's pretty much how it goes. And I would say, MV, pay attention, because this part of you that says think nothing is also an entity that you can remove. A lot of our thinking, there are beings in our space that are causing the thinking, and we're not even aware that most of our thoughts aren't even ours. Here's the thing, when you get out of body, when you're away from this place, you're not gonna have any thinking. It's very clear. You have the knowingness. You know it all. You see it all. There's a perception, but there is no thinking. It's not like you see a planet like, oh, there's a planet. No, you see it. It's right there. Like, you don't have to think about it. It's very clear. And so, this case we have, like whatever we experienced in past with a lot of traumas, that is playing a part here because of our, everyday life triggers, whatever you have experienced from birth until this very moment, and what you have right now. A lot of these things, what people have been saying to you all the time. Your mother, like, hey, take out the trash, take out the trash, take out the trash. Or, you're not good enough, why can't you be like your brother, why can't you be like your sister? Or, hey, slowpoke, and, there's a lot of people saying things to you that will stick, that will hurt. Like, hey, cow, hey, fat guy, hey, you, fatso, and it's just gonna stick with you. It's just gonna, slap on the face, but it doesn't go away. That pain is kind of like a scar, it stays there. And their phrase, you might be doing something, and 10 years later, you're in bed, like, oh, I'm just gonna relax and just chill. And their voice, that one little phrase, plays a part, and you're like, fuck, man. And just, whatever happened, there's that little thing that happened that triggers you and is gonna play itself again. It's an entity. It is an entity that has stuck with you at that moment with that specific phrase. When anything happens in our life, it's usually the physical pain or being knocked out, unconscious. So when we experience that, anything that happens in our surroundings, people saying certain phrases, even something happening in the movie, on the radio, in your surroundings, you can hear it, it can become a hypnotic command. A lot of entities stick to that energy as well. So now you have, hypnotic commands plus entities plus other things with one specific phrase that's playing in your background, like think nothing, think nothing, think nothing. Or I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I'm stuck. I can't get out of body. I can't get out of here. Like a lot of little things. You look at that, and these repetitive things, you can't get rid of it. It's like your agreements. It's like your entities. It's like your things. And man, you can get it all out of your space. So literally, the best thing to do, from my perspective, is as you notice them again and again and again, specific phrases, specific feeling states, specific thoughts repeating again and again, you give them a little label. The being of trying not to think, like think nothing, or the entity that says think nothing. The being or the aspect that is feeling lazy, the entity that is feeling grumpy, tired, exhausted, not good enough, abandoned and triggered and not loved, or you just look at yourself and things that are not serving you, and you put a label so that you would know what you're working with. And once you have it, there are a lot of ways you can go with it. One of the things you can try doing is just imagine this little box right in front of you. And in this box, you have a cluster of entities that are trying to think nothing, think nothing, think nothing. And they're telling you a lot of things. And some entities can talk to you about thinking nothing. Some entities can tell you, hey, you're not good enough. Even your mother or your father or your siblings or anyone around you that have said something negative that kind of hurt, they are the entity. That part of them that hurt you, that is an entity. And you literally, that part that hurt you, that little entity, you put it in a box. And it's like, okay, so even for those that have a hard time quieting their mind, it's like, okay, you have a constant chatter, so can't shut the fuck up part. Always talking, non-stop thinking, and like, you would just go with what's going on with your thinking. Maybe you cannot get out of body, and you really want to. A lot of people have gone through things where they have been trapped, they have been stuck, even here on Earth, and you have these repeating beliefs or repetitive phrases with, I can't get out of here. I can't become aware. I'm not awake enough. And you say certain things, but it's a command, it's a belief, it's an agreement, it's an entity. And you can literally put it all in a box or any other shape that you like that works better for you. But for example, pick a box and you just put a lot of entities and things in there and you close them up. It's like a little gift box or whatever. Okay, you have it in the box. So what you do now is you disconnect it from yourself. Like you cut off the front and the back of the box, the top and bottom, the sides, you disconnect it, and you think about all the cores, energy ties. Like let's say when your mother or father or someone close to you that you really care about say something that hurt you, say something that stuck and like, ow, like damn, I can't believe they did that. And that part that left a mark, it has an energy tied to you. It's tied up to your feeling state. So you literally have to disconnect it, like cut it off. And you can think of it as a string, as a cord, as a cable, and you pull it out of yourself, you cut them off, and you can actually use your hands to do it. You can use your visuals, you can like, okay, just, or you just have your intention and thoughts about it, but you disconnect all of those beings, everything that you put in the box, you disconnect it from yourself fully, and then you think of this galactic vacuum. It is a vortex energy that will suck away everything that's in your space that you don't want or need. And literally this box will be taken to the galactic vacuum for transmutation. And all of these entities, everything that you don't want in your life, gone. And you're like, okay, finally, this part is done. So that would be just one part to do. It's one out of many, many techniques. And there's a lot. There's a whole lot. There's talking to them, okay, and then being in my space that is thinking, try not to think, or think nothing, think nothing, think nothing. So the being that is saying think nothing, from your perspective, what might be the problem? And you ask them a question and you stay quiet. Because some people get the answer out loud. Like they can hear them talk. They can have the thought. They can just have the knowing of like, oh, I just got the answer and I know what he said. So you can get the answer in a lot of ways. It just depends on how you're going to perceive it. But literally, as you have these entities in your space and you're talking to them and you give them the label so that you know who you're dealing with, if it's an entity causing you to have road rage, if it's an entity causing you to be exhausted or lazy, if it's an entity feeling like it's been abandoned or a part of you that's feeling abandoned, if it's a part of you that is trying not to think, feeling bad about thinking too much, can't shut the fuck up part or whatever, you give them a label so that you would know who you're dealing with because there are many beings in our space. And once you can specify and get specific ones out of there, you'll have more time to deal with whatever you want. So that's a good part. And so when you have a little label on them, you just, okay, name your thing. And, for me, example would be maybe not speaking clearly. Like I would like to speak more clearly, I think, right now. For some people, it, like, for MV, it can be that entity that's think nothing, So the entity that says think nothing, or the entity that is trying to think nothing, And so you're just addressing that. So, okay, this part of me that is saying think nothing. From your perspective, what seems to be the problem? And you ask that question specifically because if you just ask, what's the problem? They might not know about it. But from your perspective, what seems to be the problem? Well, they can talk about it and they can have a conversation. They can drink some tea and think about it and explain themselves. And they're just going to go on and on and on if they want to. But now you give them freedom to talk about stuff. Not just like it's not a torture, like not like answer my fucking question. No, like they're just going to have their time talking to you. And so you become the auditor, you're the listener, you're the psychologist, so to speak. And when you talk to these beings, your thing is not to deal with them right away. You can, but you're just a listener. It's like someone who just wants to talk it out. And literally, okay, so the part of me that would like to speak more clearly, or part of me that is not speaking clearly, from your perspective, what seems to be the problem? Well, I just didn't have much time to learn. And I wish I would learn, but you're always doing something else. You give priorities to tons of other things, but not me. And I would like to take my time speaking clearly. But you just, you're always worried. There's that worried part, and there's that pissed off part, and there's this other part. Like, okay, like, thanks for telling me about it. And so for this other person who's saying, like, there's this entity, who says think nothing, when you talk to this, ask them from your perspective, Mr. that tries to think nothing, what seems to be the problem? And it's like, well, there's a lot of the beings in your space talking all the fucking time. And I'm just trying to tell them, think nothing, talk about nothing, shut the fuck up, because I'm just trying to sit there quietly, and they're always talking, what the fuck, man? And, it can be just an entity explaining themselves. But you're like, oh, okay, so, yeah, it's just like having a loud neighbors. I understand, thanks for sharing. And all of a sudden, this part's like, I got it off my chest, thanks for listening. So you just have to acknowledge these entities. They're just like us. Just not as aware, not that bright, and you're there to help. Most of these beings, a lot of these entities come to us because they see us as healers. They see us as beings who are there to help. And we've always been helping people out there before coming here on Earth. And they come because they know you can help. And they think that you're going to be able to realize who they are, to see them, to help them out. And so a lot of these entities don't even try to fuck with you. It's just their beingness, their personality, their essence that you pick up automatically without being aware of it. And if you can be aware of, like, oh, there's entities coming to me for help, and I'm just gonna give them a way to get out, just by giving them permission, that's all they need, and they're out. So literally, even us, like, automatically attract entities because we're helpers. Because we help people. And they're just coming for help. So anyway, a lot of ways to deal with things like that. But again, being specific, looking at what's repetitive so that you could give it a name and know what you're dealing with. And then billions of methods. Few I just mentioned. So hopefully some of it will help. I'm talking a lot, but that's my stream, so I kind of have to carry it all. So yeah, I think it's a good time to start slowly shifting into the quick scan. There's probably more questions and everything else. So yeah, I'm just gonna open up my email again and see how many people wrote to me. Okay. Wow, quite a few people. All right. I'm just taking my time looking at what I'm working with. Okay, it's gonna be interesting because I have a person here who is Lithuanian and writing to me in Lithuanian, so I'll have to do a little translation for you people so that you would understand what I'm dealing with. Yeah. Okay, so I'll take my time reading the email and then I'll translate what this person said, and then we're gonna have our little meter there that's reading how much I can confront and what I'm seeing and everything else. I'm also gonna get it on the screen, and we'll see how it goes. Okay. So there we have a little meter there. I'm gonna start the timer right now as I read stuff. So she's saying that she's writing in Lithuanian because this is easier for her to express herself in that way. And she wants to know if she's dealing with incubus or succubus. Okay. So she sometimes thinks she summoned them, like unknowingly or like unaware that she summoned them, manifest them in her space, thinking that it's just her fantasy. And she's wondering if there's still any kind of connection with the incubus succubus, and if there is, how would you disconnect from them? And it's also like she's saying that the last few years were pretty much like hard emotionally and spiritually, and she wants to know if there is any. Just like reading the last of the sentence. If there's any outside, forces affecting her and making her feel that way. Okay, so gives me an idea. I also have a photo. Very beautiful girl. Alright. So that gives me an idea of what I'm working with. So I'm just going to take my time connecting to the person and seeing what happens. So for you, wonderful person, I'm just going to call you Jay. You mentioned like incubus succubus, and I'm seeing there is some sort of connection, but what happens is that some of the fantasies that you've had helped some people from the past. Like you've had a few male figures in the past, let's say as your lovers, as your husband, a close friend, where you say that, together forever. Like you and me, we're married, so until the death, till this part and all this stuff. And so these connections, when you make decisions to be with people, it stays with us even after we die. Because depending on certain agreements, depending how we look at things, best friends forever. Well, you kind of tie yourself up with that. You might not want it to be forever, but just a simple thing we say for fun. So same thing with someone you love. You're just like, hey, just you and me forever, and like things like that. So there are certain people who took that part in their way very seriously, like very possessively, being very dominant. Like, hey, you belong to me. I'm not gonna let anyone else get you. You're mine and only mine. And there's a lot of that love, but that person feels that even though they cannot be here on Earth, like they don't want to come here. They don't like being on Earth, but they're being out there, making sure that once you get out, they can kind of get you from themselves. And there's like 2 to 3 figures, maybe more. I'm just gonna look deeper into how many. About 5. So 5 male figures specifically. They're not getting you all the same time. It's really like a roller coaster, like depending on how you feel throughout certain periods of time, one of them might become more present to affect you. And so they're very possessive, which means they can cause issues in your life where you try to connect with people, and even if you try to get a relationship, even if you try to have some male figures in your life, like even as friends, all of a sudden they're gonna kind of be pushed back. Like they're gonna feel like they cannot get close to you, they cannot connect to you, they like you, but all of a sudden there's that hate, there's that disappointment, there's that being annoyed and anger, a lot of various emotions where this person from your past doesn't want any male figure near you. Like you belong to him. So all of a sudden no one can get you, no one can touch you. And, you can be very fun around people, you can be very bright and giving. But it's like that person from the past puts a cloak over you that has this energy of how others are going to perceive you. Not see you for who you are, but that cloak that is programmed by this other guy from your past that does not want you to be taken by anyone else. And that's where this guy can come in, and let's say you're trying to be in a relationship, and now all these people are being pushed away, they don't like you, or, before that guy interferes, you and some people get together, you're having fun. And I would even say with girls too, it's like, even girls cannot have you. Even if you have friends that are in your space, and even you have mom or grandma or someone close to you in the female section as well, they're like, hey, look, I like you, you're close, you have best friends, and one day they just flip. Because this guy comes in and like, hey, No one can have you. Even that girl, she's having too much time with you, and all of a sudden she's gonna come in and like like just flips, like best friend flips on you, and all of a sudden you lose her. Like all of a sudden she feels like you did something really bad. Or even they might have some weird dreams, feeling states, just come close to you and feel triggered and just, oh, I can't get close to you or anything like that. So part of it is that. Part of it is being in your space, like on an energetical level. So throughout the night, draining you, getting you into this dream construct to where you fall asleep physically. But what happens throughout the night, whether it is rape or energy draining or other things that happen, you lose part of yourself. So you wake up and it's as if you didn't get rest. It's like you're still like, oh man, I'm feeling all drained. You might feel icky. In Lithuania, we have a saying, "Atsikėlęs ne to loviško, ne to koja iš lovos." So it's as if like you just basically get up and use the wrong foot to get out of bed, if that would be the best translation possible in English. But it's like starting the day like starting the day wrong way, and everything's gonna go sideways. So you're annoyed, you're angry, you're not yourself. So it's like you're losing part of yourself, and at the same time getting sort of defragmented, if I could say that, losing parts of yourself. So if you have this imagination, creativity, this wanting to do things, this fire within yourself, all of a sudden it's gonna be taken away because these beings are draining you. So there's that part. Still like just looking if there's anything else. Another thing, it happens to everyone, one way or the other, but let's say the fantasies that you have had that have called out this incubus succubus thing, you haven't closed them. And it is the same way people create like daydream and they create their wanted reality. And same way we're just like, wouldn't it be wonderful if? And they're gonna dream about the best world possible, their wanted scenarios, what if they the girl or the guy they like, they met with them, and what if that relationship happened? And we're gonna just spin various scenarios to please ourselves, just to wonder what if. But everything we spin and fantasize about is literally created in another parallel reality. In another world, it has happened, and that is the way things are right now. But you have no idea how many fantasies you have for actually creating people and beings out there. And where it is sexual, and any of you can just, you can have a sex with a girl or a guy and just wonder, what if that other person was here? Man, fuck yeah. Or you can just be pleasing yourself and just spin a scenario you like just because it's fun. And you're still creating that reality. And it's all fine. It is okay. Enjoy yourself. There are no limits. It's not a taboo thing. You're not bad or wrong for doing it. But a lot of people unawarely, it's like creating beings that like us wonder, where is my higher self? When they get in trouble, they look at you. You are the higher self. You're the creator. You're the God that created them. And you can just spin scenarios and create a bunch of beings, and you have no idea how many you have left without being unchecked. So let's say once you spin a fantasy and you please yourself, if that's where you're going, go into, okay, now I'm done, and that realm is erased. That is uncreated, and that is done. And you just finished your experience. You went from A to Z, and that was created, and now you undo it all. And so that is done. Because if you're like, that was fun, and you don't undo it or you uncreate it, that realm up to this day is still going. And if you are into sex, and you're creating various sexual scenarios, and a lot of us do, whoever is into, like, hey, I just like to please myself, and, like, whatever way you go, if people unfinish their scenarios or don't go with, okay, now I'm done and I'm gonna uncreate it all, that realm up to this day is still running. And if it's a sexual fantasy, everything that has happened will keep on happening again and again and again, and just wonder how many of these realms have you created that are still ongoing, that are still up to this day are draining your energy. And this is where people lose their libido. This is where people like, oh, I don't like feel the sexual urges anymore. I don't get a hard on anymore. I don't feel like I want to do this, because you're doing it like 20,000 times at once, and it's draining you. So it would be my personal recommendation to just go in and like, okay, that is like that was fun. I'm just gonna uncreate it all, erase it. That's done. To not have your other aspects still used and messed with. You know, it can be fun, it can be pleasurable, but it's gonna be story that will still keep on going again and again and again with what you create. It can be a specific time loop, and you're just stuck. You're just stuck in that place with that specific activity. And this goes for everyone. Not a specific person I'm talking to, but everyone. So yeah, and Jay, if you have those fantasies, you can just think of like what made you summon or manifest these incubus succubus in your space. You can just sort of like, okay, I think I get where it all started. Then you sort of like go over it and think of, using an eraser and just ending it all off on creating it, because that will really help. And same with if they're still in your space, dealing with succubus and incubus, it's really good to find out why are you here. Because sometimes people have this deal. They feel like, oh, well, I get something and you get something. And some of us might like, okay, well, you can use my physical body and you can fuck with me, but you give me information, you give me the security, you give me the pleasure or whatever. And, it can go in lots of ways, but a lot of us are being messed with unawarely, that we said, like, we allow them to be in our space because, hey, we agree. Like, I get this, you get that, and that's the thing. When you're saying stop, your deal still goes on because you haven't canceled it out. So you would need to look at things that are happening that you might not be aware of it, or even like lots of different methods. Like same thing, putting those beings in a box, looking at where it all starts, like the whole parse party thing where you find, let's say, their name or how they make you feel, or this like incubus succubus in my space from your perspective, what seems to be the problem, and you just go with the questioning things. But there's a lot of ways to acknowledge their beingness and just deal with them. So there's that part. So I'm going with reading more of your email, just a little bit more, and seeing how can I help you, what can I tell, and all this stuff. I'm also picking up some astral abductions with you. Like throughout the night, your physical body falls asleep, but your astral aspect is taken by the other groups. And I'm still looking if it's someone sinister or smaller. I'm seeing like Grace, but Grace are just mercenaries. So they're just doing the job, so they can take you and sort of deliver you to whoever ordered them to do so. So I wouldn't give too much blame on them, but of course, they're playing the part. But someone bigger who's wanting you more. I'm also like getting like as you people see a meter going. I've had some reads like I'm looking at the visuals and everything else. The thing of 20 and back, and specifically being taken at 2 years old. So I'm just looking if that's a thing or not. So right now the meter is reading like 20 and back in the physical world. So it is quite likely you have been physically abducted and been in the 20 years of service. And oh boy, does that happen in Lithuania? Yeah, it happens everywhere. Everywhere. So I'm just a little glimpse. Yeah, so for me, I'm 20 in the back from the age of 2 to 22, and then from 12 to 32. So you've been into 20 in the back twice. That's a lot. That's a lot. So I'm just like looking into who's involved, what happened to you, what did you do, how are you involved. But it's already a thing. 20 in the back topic is massive. a lot of ways to like explain it, like by de-aging or bringing you back into a different timeline, where in the first timeline, your parents lost you forever. Their child is missing up to today and they're still crying about it. But in another timeline, you were returned before you were taken, and just like, okay, your parents didn't even notice you were gone. It's like all of a sudden you're still there. Like they didn't even notice. Like, hey, we were asleep, she were asleep, we woke up in the morning, she's there. Like, what's the big deal? But yeah, there's a lot of that. I'm saying with you, Jay, it's like you've been, I don't know how to say, trained and grown to be used as this psychic emotional sponge. And what I'm saying is, groups that have been training you, and I will look into this. I'm just saying, like, glimpses of what I'm seeing. Um, it's like they teach you how to, like, let's say entities take loosh. So this negative energy people have, they're just gonna take it and eat that, get better. This is how they live, this is how they survive, this is how they can keep on going. And the same way they can use that energy for their technologies to run things, instead of like using electricity or the coal or water or whatever else, they're using loosh. So same way, I'm seeing groups fucking with a lot of realms, and that energy, they're literally using you as this storage box that they're gonna fuck up like one world really bad, trigger a lot of people, and all those negative emotions will be stored in you, and you're like just a container for a lot of that bullshit from other people, like all of their emotions, like losing people, the death, the pain, the tears, the sorrow, and everything else, the grief. It grows in you to where you're a bit emotionally unstable. Like, it just overfills you. And when you get to that point, then this group is like, great, now we're just gonna take that energy and direct it to what we want. And, they can use it for weapons of mass destruction, they can use it to power up their own technologies and their civilizations, they can use it to eat. And it's literally like people here on Earth have like adrenochrome, like, okay, let's stay young. Well, for them, it's like literally, let's eat all this harsh energy to hold, like, like live longer, to do things longer and all this stuff. So, for you, Jay, literally like living as a container, like being trained to handle a lot of that, to where, they're just gonna pick one of the planets on the lower astral and they're gonna attack it. And it's like infiltrate, hijack, consolidate. They're gonna go in, they're gonna start fucking things up from the inside. It's like, your government goes bad slowly, and then, you've been living in a great country, but it all goes back to the current day of the world where, it's like, think of the Australia, mandatory vaccinations and this and that and that and that, and you're suppressed and you can't live anymore, and just, like, let's say genocide and the concentration camps. I'm just giving an example of things that can be really harsh, like hardcore, and a lot of that is happening in other worlds. Like reptilians, draconians, humans are involved in that, like in causing that, and the pain that other beings feel, like losing their loved ones, losing the world that they were living in, like the soul traps and all this stuff, like all this energy, the loosh, is being stored within you, Jay. And with that, it's just hardcore. Where, okay, later on they're gonna drain it out of you and use it somewhere else. But 20 years of living like that and coming back on Earth, gee, I wonder how you're gonna feel on Earth. Still living with all their crap. Like, you're not clean. You don't have it all out. You still have that part of, like, here. And another part is like, you're empathic, you're emotional. Emotional is, it's not a bad thing. You feel emotions, you can relate to things, you get better with connecting to things, you're an empath and all this stuff. That's good. But other people, you're just more sensitive to things. And on other worlds, that is great. But in this world, it's traumatic. It's gonna hurt you bad when they fuck with you. And so when they trigger you, your reactions, how you take it in, how you understand everything, is gonna hurt. And so for you, just overwhelming. So 20 years of experiencing, being the container box for all the negativity of other people and haven't been cleaned up properly, you come back here, that stuff stays with you. Not fully, but you live with that crap. And so, I would say, there's a lot of cleaning needed. A lot of getting rid of all that stuff that is with you. Um, so there's that. I will see if there's anything else I should or would for mention. So I'm seeing you connected with the Procyon group before coming here to Earth. Some of them are more like elven, long-haired looking people. Some of them are more like dwarven, like little, gnomes. Like lots of variations, but specifically the Procyon elves, working with technology. You're pretty good at tech, connecting it, creating things. So in this life, I don't know if you'd be into picking up the engineering, the programming, anything with technology would be a part where, you might find your strong sides. But in that world is also where you have like a lot of access to information, and that's where you become, dangerous to certain groups and they don't like you, and that's where you're being attacked. And specifically like Brilliance, if you ever see like you're trying to do things in life, you put a lot of effort in, but feel like nothing has happened, nothing has changed. This is like where the Brilliant group comes in. Like they're humanoid bird-looking beings, and depending on which dimension they are, they're gonna shapeshift and like their form, their being is gonna change. But they're pretty much like a very good race, created an AI, trying to survive and get better, gone wrong, and the AI took over and is now like AI cyborg bodies like run by AI. So a lot of these beings are just bad program, and what they do is it's kind of like they put you back in time. So if you're trying to get better, you're doing shadow work, you're trying to learn things, you're trying to get better in any possible way, and you put a lot of effort and time into something, but then eventually nothing has changed. The Brilliant group has come there and pretty much like just put you back in time. Just like, hey, like nothing happened. Just go on, try again. And so this group is like interfering with you quite a bit. They're from the past. They're like pretty much like you were stopping their technology and stopping their messing with the like the whole 3D. You caught them and tried to stop them a little bit, but that's where they're like, oh, you're a bad guy, so they targeted you, and they're pretty much like up to this day trying to suppress you, make sure you don't get out of that prison cell you kind of have. So there's that. So this be just like a quick, I guess. For now, it's good enough. Like gives me plenty of insights. And yeah, that would be just a little. Hey, look what I found. So as regards Succubus Incubus, I've sort of mentioned what you can do. As regards Brilliance, this group, if any one of you have this thing in life where you feel like you do your own shadow work, inner work, you try to get better in life, you do these various techniques where you try to remove entities, you try to get rid of this, let's say, negative thinking, or you do the soul conflict removal, whatever techniques you're using in life to get better, and then you see no results. That's pretty much where the Brilliant groups comes in. So being aware that they're in your space, like, hey, I worked and nothing has happened, you focus on that. And what you do is like, okay, well, how do I deal with them? Now that you sort of like know the idea, well, if these are the symptoms, and this is how you can sort of tell that it's a Brilliant group, or otherwise, if you can get out of body, see them, hear them, feel them, that would be great. But if the idea is enough of you that like, oh, well, what I'm experiencing sort of defines what happens when people are being messed by with Brilliance, then they just take that case and go with, okay, specifically this group. Go into the beginning of the incident where, if you can recall your past life, you just like focus on that one incident of, hey, well, I was trying to protect the beings on the Milky Way, and specifically, 3D, not just the Milky Way. Like, we're not that special on Earth, but anyone who's messed by Brilliance, and you're trying to protect them on the 3D, you got in their way. And it's kind of like people playing football. Let's say, you have two teams, or let's say NBA. Lakers are playing against Celtics, and two teams fighting, and just like, okay, this is a great game, this is their thing. And someone goes in the court and like fucks up the ball or starts shooting the gun. Hey, stop you all! And you're gonna ruin the game, because when Brilliants go against beings on, let's say, 3D, this is the game of those few groups, and everyone's involved in one way. And when you get in and you try to stop them, you get in the way of groups that are playing the game. And so this is why you get targeted. And you have to go to that beginning of the incident where, okay, just imagine creating another timeline where you never shot a gun, so to speak. You never ruined the game. And you talk to these Brilliants, hey, I care about beings in the 3D. I'm trying to elevate the consciousness. I've been working with people. I've been trying to help them with their technology. And you're the group that gets in the way. On this timeline, you play your own game. On the other timeline, I do my own thing. And this is where you can be diplomatic and you can offer your own ways of how you're going to deal with them. But it's all up to you. And hey, it's all up to you how you're going to deal with it. But for me, I always try to find an agreement with some beings instead of going into war, because if you start fighting, even if it's an entity, they always have backup. Not we. We don't. I mean, you might have friends, and that would be great, but you can't call on people 24/7. And these entities have never-ending sources, so once you get in, it's going to be a big deal. Apart from that, what else could I say? I would look into events in your life that keep on happening. Like, how are you dealing with things? How are you taking things in? Like, you mentioned those dark times you're having, like spiritually, emotionally, and everything else. I would look at repetitive themes. Because knowing how you can be triggered, knowing how they are playing the game to mess with you, if you know the signs, then you can play with them differently. You're like, okay, well, I'm just gonna try not responding. It's like same way, people are sending NPCs to fuck with me, and I don't respond, and instead I focus on creating my own reality. Man, the wins I get and how they get pissed off is one sign. You can tell. And, it's a war, depends how deep you want to go. But that'll be it. People, I am Lithuanian. I am Lithuanian, not Sweden, not Russian, nothing. I'm Lithuanian. Come on, come on. That's okay. I don't care. To make it clear, come on. It's a small country. Anyway, wow, what a session. What a session. It's not pleasant to be around Brilliance. Not pleasant. I've had a few clients who were dealing with them, and the best way we found to go is to find the origins of the thing. It's the same thing where in the past life we have done something that in this life we're somewhat playing the part of it. I've had a client who really dedicated their whole life here on Earth, spending time saving animals and specifically working with dogs. Working with dogs and helping them out and taking care of them. And we looked into the past life of what happened before Earth. And this person that's helping dogs, man, apparently in their past life, connected to various groups, they were fighting the Anunnaki canine. So these are the werewolf dog-like looking beings. And they were fucking them up really bad. It's like, let's take over Anunnaki canine world. And why not? It's just going to be our territory. It's going to be our technology. We're going to take off their kids. And literally, they're not innocent. But this specifically is just like Anunnaki canine family. Like, fuck this war. We're just going to have a few of us as a group just living peacefully. And then humans are like, hey, that's a great place. Let's go. And what's Anunnaki? They're all bad because they're understanding generalities, Like, all reptilians are bad. And going with general belief system, they go and pretty much kill all the offspring of these few Anunnaki canine beings. Boy, that escalated into a massive war, into a massacre, and there's a lot of the things that happened in the past life. That in this lifetime, the person thought that the best thing to do is to help all the dogs possible. That was the decision. And literally, we had to clear up with you can find another job and you can find an enjoyable life because that person didn't necessarily love all out the dogs, but just felt like, hey, I kind of have to help dogs. I don't know why, but they really have to. And we went to the past life of, hey, just say sorry. Like, we can go back and let's not attack this planet. There are beings wanting to live here peacefully. We're just going to go bypass and go somewhere else. And you can go into these incidents. If you remember past lives, you just make a different decision. You're like, okay, you're going to rewrite how it happened. And whatever affects you from the past life up to today, you can rewrite it all. And circumstances can get different. So for those who are being attacked by Brilliants or Reptilians or anyone else, you kind of have to go into what happened. Why are they messing with you in the first place? And once you can rewrite the story, that'll be it. So there, man. A lot of things today, a lot, but hopefully some of you get something out of this content and feel any kind of value. I'll see if I have another question or two to answer, and then I'll probably be wrapping it up for today. So if you people have any more last questions, feel free to write. Eddie's asking, what's an NPC? NPC is a non-player character. Non-player character is a being, or let's say a character that is not controlled by the player. And so if you look at this, think of Sims game or yourself, and you're using a doll, and you're or you're playing a game and you're taking this figure and you're moving it. Let's go with take a minute. We're gonna take Bakugo, all dusty as fucking all. There we go. An anime figure, Bakugo, right? And so we have this figure and we're saying, okay, well, this is the guy, this is the player. And, or let's say, this is the character, this is the player. You're playing, and then you pick up and put down. You're the player and you're just done playing. There are people here who don't have a player. It's just the program running the little character. And so NPCs we call people who don't have consciousness. It's just a program. It's just, let's say, AI, for example, a machine. There is no conscious being controlling it. And so, when you meet them in life, there is no soul in those people. There is no soul. No energy. If you literally can test how people respond, every one of us has this energy shield, And so you literally can get close to people. They can just be walking up front, or they can be sitting here, and you walk behind someone, and you get close enough to where they're gonna turn around like, what the fuck? And they're gonna feel you. Or you're sitting in your room, and the room is like, what a great day. And all of a sudden, your energy changes because you feel like someone's watching you. You feel like, you're alone in your house, but you don't feel alone. And it's kind of creepy. And that's because you're not alone. You literally have someone with you. Where you would call it a ghost, a person who's out of body, some being, you're on a certain level vibrationally where you're tuning into the other realms. It's not just the physical world, but that's where we can see entities. Because your awareness, you cannot just see this world, but you can see much more than that. So every one of us has this energy shielding, right? You can feel the energy. And because of that, we're like, what the fuck? Someone is in our space. You can clearly feel it. So you have this thing. People who don't have a soul, NPCs, they don't have that. So when you get close to them, when you try to poke them, let's say energetically, no response. If they're just there, a program just standing like there, and you get close to them, no response. And it's the weirdest thing. So there are these non-player characters, not controlled by the consciousness, no soul in there, just a program. And these people can fuck with you. They can be used by the third parties, like reptilians, AI and all this stuff, programmed to come into your life just to play a part. Whether it's to trigger you, to scare you, or do something, they are there. And good luck telling it all apart. Does it matter? Not really, but what matters is how you react to it all. You know, you can be like the only one conscious here, and even here for you, I can be the, NPC, and the whole world is an NPC, and you're like, what the fuck, am I the only one conscious here? Would it matter? Not really, because you're entertained by it all. You're still living. You're still doing your own thing. You still have some weird NPC telling you, you need to get conscious, you need to get out of here. You need to make sure you don't come back here on Earth. If that's how, what you get from it, that's cool. Some of them are controlled and they would fuck with you. And, that's not a good thing. But you need to just, learn how to deal with it all, how to not react. You can acknowledge, that it happened, but don't dwell on it. Don't feel bad, and just, try to, get on the positive path as fast as possible. So there. So, that being said, I think I'm done for tonight, and I really want to thank everyone for watching. I hope that the quick scan was good for someone that asked for it, and that some of the questions were answered, gave you some of the value, and hey, thank you everyone for tuning in, for watching the stream for so long, for giving me a chance to express myself, to talk about lots of subjects, and I'll see you next time. So, bye-bye.